So in 1966, boy, that was a long time ago, I came to town, and in a short period of time, I met Leanne Chu, a Chinese woman. She was Miss Chinatown a few years before I met her, and but she was a seamstress. So her and I, she was major in the role, opened up a dress shop that was right here, upstairs. It was upstairs because it was cheap rent, I think. So we started out $100 a month or something like that at that time. And you had to go upstairs. So it was kind of a whole process of getting people around the corner and upstairs to a dress shop. We made handmade dresses. We made the dresses. Mostly Leanne made the dresses. So after a few years of that, like most of the relationships here, we sort of found different interests. And basically I looked out that window there and I saw all the destruction of all the housing. Some of it's behind us, some of it's over here, that was removed or destroyed, mostly destroyed. And I didn't even know what it was all about, but the idea was they're going to build dorms here on People's Park. So at the same time, I was in this anti-war movement. We did concerts every month, every week around town. One of the places we did them was downtown. It's a park down there, Constitution Square. I think they call it that now. And but they stopped us. The Republicans took power in Berkeley and they stopped us from doing it. So I decided, why not have be right in front of me up here, or behind me, have a concert up there. And so we had a concert, and that's how the park started.
The size of the crowd is really hard to gauge, because it's like when you get up to 5,000 people, it raises up and declines real fast. Anytime you get over 2,000, things start fluctuating real heavy. It's like the fluctuation gets real massive. To move that many people is a big job all by itself. That's just to start with. So there's different accounts as to how many people it was. I'd say it was about 3,500. And that was at the peak of the swell.
A mob of us were wandering around town around when they were bombing Haiphong and North Vietnamese, where they're bombing around the Christmas time. And somebody yelled out, "Well, there's nobody at the park, let's go up to the park." We got up here and just tore the fence down. This is part of the product right there.
An adult person handed me a pair of bolt cutters and said, "Go cut the link on the fence," which I did. And after that, the hippies just took the fence. Yeah. Somehow they got a picture of me in the newspaper cutting that link, though.
So 3 generations of social movement, a person's life, protests, businesses, all of these things that have taken place in the name of People's Park, in the name of the People's Movement. We're supposed to let 20 to 50 people's current drug addictions and housing insecurities dictate a social movement of a generation. You know, how's the park going to answer for that after the houses are built? You know, okay, is that the end of the movement? You know, does the neighborhood now look like you want it to look?
My reality is more inclined to, it's part of the larger monetary system of this country to oppress people. And this is really where it starts. This is where resistance started, and this is where the repression starts. You know, it's like, if they can do it here, they're going to keep doing it. That's the way it's going to go. The only reason there's tents here is because of the pandemic. Otherwise, UC never allowed tents to be here, even though people lived here for years and years and years. And since they couldn't take it from us, they couldn't have it the way they wanted, well, they made sure that they spent a lot of money to make sure that it was as ugly and uncomfortable and degrading for everybody as humanly possible.
Back in the days, back in the 60s and the 70s, they used it as a holding cell, like a prison. And so they designed it like a prison. You got a tiny little button you can push to wash your hands. You can't quite push it because it's too close to the wall. And once you touch it, you gotta wash your hands. And then the button that you push the water come out, that's a tiny little button, you know. You gotta touch that. You still mess. Your hand is still dirty and contaminated because you can't really touch it without having to get your hand contaminated. And furthermore, they have no doors. You know, you can't have your privacy. And then you have no toilet paper that you need to do what you need to do.
So I first set foot in the park in 1983. And I come out of the classical musical world, and one of the first things that really hit me was this free speech stage. So it was built as part of the 10-year anniversary celebrations, and I thought, wow, that's an amazing thing. I was used to classical music stages. I was at Hollywood Bowl stage, all the huge stages. And so over the decades, I became more and more involved over time by the mid-'80s in actually organizing to save the park, because we were seeing, you know, UC making all its statements about we're going to take back the park and, you know, build housing. Well, I was thinking the other day when I saw an article about UC in the paper, I was thinking, you know, this actually should be in the business section. It doesn't belong in the regular news section, it belongs in the business section, because UC is operating like a corporate business, and it's all about profits, and it's all about spending the least possible. Now, you know, now they're talking about trying to pull in more people online and, you know, charge them massive amounts of money to have online classes, and they actually saved money during the pandemic, but they want to continue this kind of thing, and it just means a diluted education for a majority of students, especially undergrads. It might be different. It is different for many when they get into the graduate departments, but for undergrads, it's a really diluted kind of educational experience. It's not what it was when others of us were in the UC system. Even, you know, I was at UCLA, sort of 81, last time period, 85. In that time period, we were already having problems in the UC system with not being able to get all the classes we needed for graduate, the core classes as an undergraduate. There were, even in 81, not enough, you know, provided, because UC has always been. I had one of my children in the Berkeley City College system. There were UC students in there all the time trying to get core classes, and in one case, one of the UC students had 2 out of 4 classes at BCC, and that had 2 effects. First of all, that's not what that person was paying for. That person was paying for a UC education. Second, students who are very low income and are depending on the community college system, whether or not they plan to try to go on into the UC system or CSU system, they were getting crowded out of what they needed. And this was even before the more recent time, this is like 2011, that's even before the more recent time period where there's been all this exponential growth, where UC went, during that time period, went over beyond 20%, 25%, around 30% beyond where they were supposed to be at their maximum at 2020. So, I mean, I point this out to say that the issues are structural, they're planned, they have nothing, but when you hear UC's marketing, oh, we're the victims, about the students. We care, and no, they don't. So students are coming out with an average of, you know, if they're in, like if they've transferred in after community college a couple of years, if they've transferred in, they're still leaving with an average of $23,000 in debt.
And he was 2 years old. I'll do this better with tears. Her daddy was beating me like on a regular because he was out with everything that moved. My mama said he would buck a rattlesnake if it would have stood still. And it's true. Shut up! I'm not talking about you. And there was a man here that lived here in the park at nighttime only. He met me on Shattuck Avenue. I was feeding Alicia some yogurt, some strawberry yogurt. And he asked me, he says, do you need help? And I says, oh my God, are you a psychiatrist? And I was serious. And they didn't know. And he says, where are you gonna sleep tonight? And I said, I have no idea. I don't even know if I can sleep. And he said, I have a safe place for you and her to come. But you have to be real quiet and you have to be real clean. Well, my baby girl was only 2, but she knew how to behave herself. And that's where we slept for like 6 weeks.
A place to make money, you're going to make it, because it is kind of a dog eat dog. You know, we're in the Wild West here, and you know, and everybody's looking for a way to make money, but money is fake, and we've agreed to use it, but it has no value. And are you familiar with the term petrodollar? I mean, it's pretty scary what's happened, because you know that was invented when Nixon had the Nixon shock, because in order to have the Federal Reserve, which is the biggest scam in history, was, you know, it's not even legal, but they had to agree to only have print so much money. But of course, you know, they got the press, and so what happened in 1972, I think, is that France and England decided to cash in their gold notes, their Federal Reserve notes for gold, and Nixon said nope. So they then created the petrodollar, which meant that every dollar of oil, anyone buying oil, it had to go through US dollars. So that's why all that stuff in the Middle East, and why oil and gas is even though it's a renewable resource, it's not from dinosaur bones, it's actually like water. So they control the oil, and therefore you know, it's a source of money and war.
I'm getting off the streets. I got out of prison in Washington back in September of 2020. Had to do their DOC, finally got off, left, came down here, and finally getting off the streets, being on the streets for almost 30 years, 20 years, 30 years. I'll be 41 next month. Either half my life's been on the streets and the other half's been in prison. And I'm finally done with that kind of life.
Hey there, this is Aidan Hill with People's Park. I'm just gonna do a short little introduction into the gardens here. So if you see over here, we have a sign saying when our garden gatherings are. It's basically, we're trying to get it in tune with the moon phases. So every full moon, we have a garden party. The next one's coming up on June 16th? 14th? Don't quote me. Yeah, I painted there to show people that, you know, this is your community space. If you feel like this part of the park is really calling to you, ask around, make it your own, feel empowered to be a part of it. Yeah, blackberries starting to grow. It's like, this is a nice juicy blackberry. Yeah, just needs to be washed, but I'll eat this plum. You're delicious. So, looks green, looks nice, looks great. Over here, you see an encampment, and that's okay. So, they're actually pretty tidy, pretty chill. They do everything good. So, we live in harmony with each other. They take care of the garden, I take care of the garden. It's all good. It's all gravy.
I'm just sitting here like, it's all good. That's why I'm just sitting here waiting and hoping God have mercy on the soul. That's what you do to others to come back on you. That's why I say karma's a bitch. Cause I'm sitting here like, I'm happy right now. Cheddar still. I had to keep my purse, my backpack, everything in my phones. Anything I have, I gotta keep it there. I didn't know, headphones, tablets, speakers. I'm tired of getting things taken from me. So I'm like, okay, it's time to leave. But I'm like, okay, once I get my place, is it gonna help me more if I get my place? How am I get my furniture? How am I get my TV? How am I get my mattress? How am I get my things that I need for my house? Is they gonna give me more services once I get into my home? That's what I'm worried about. So it's like, everybody in this park right now, we all stick together. But when sometimes we can argue with each other, we can fight with each other, but I only have one problem with somebody, and it's like, I don't like bullies. I don't like what bullies take from people. I don't like bullies at all. I don't even like motherfuckers just sitting here bullying their way into taking people's things. Come up with a story to take somebody's backpack, that's not cool. I was bullied as a kid. I hate bullies. I hate thieves. I hate liars. But when it comes to my family, that's a big thing. That's why I'm like, certain people like, in this section, that section over here, they do too much. I wish I could just take certain people, just put them in somewhere and just leave them there. Because it's like not fair for somebody to be bullied and picked on, especially a woman. And it's not fair. I'm being attacked in this part. Now, my husband, called me talking he was on his way. Because he's tired of me being picked on. He was like, she's here to get her housing. She's not just doing it for herself, she's doing it for us. He's on my housing. And they wondering where he's at. I'm not telling nobody where he's at because he did something to somebody. He sold his food stamp card to somebody and cut him off. And nobody don't know where he's at but me. They think he's not in this park. He's in this park. He's out here in this park somewhere hardly. And I'm like telling people, I'm like, I don't give him nobody's hiding spot. I'm like, my husband's sitting here, he been watching everything that goes on in this park. And it's like, he's nearby, he's near close. And it's like, it's crazy that I'll be separated from my husband. And it's like, it sucks. And all I ask is for my husband to just come back. So he can just hurry up and leave. So by the time I get my housing, I'm not coming back to this park. Because it caused me too much pain, it caused me too much drama. I don't like drama, I don't like issues, I don't like problems. I like to be at peace. I love quietness. If I'm at peace, I'm cool. It's like, don't bring the negative, bring me some type of positive. If it's not positive, I don't want it in my house. I just want to be able to be free.
Nobody is free in America. To be free is to be dead. That is to be free, and we're technically not even dead. And no matter which religion, which spirituality that you believe in, most of them believe in an afterlife. All of them believe in an afterlife.
Real family. My name Rose. That's my last name. That's my family's matriarchal name back into the time of gypsies in ancient Russia. And, you know, on my other side, I'm a blackguard, pirate. We're outlaws. We're my whole family is outcasts, outlaws. But they made us outlaws. We didn't choose to be. We didn't go, oh, I'm just gonna step out and do these bad things. It was because there was a system in place that branded us outlaws and made us do desperate acts to survive. And that's what people are doing out here. People call us outlaws, lawbreakers, whatever. No, people do what they do to survive because they set up the system that way. Not us. We didn't make the rules. We just play the game. Try to do the best. They're no less a thug or a gang, in my opinion, You know, if you can come in and take someone's land and throw them off of it and then take their children and then, you know, or the war on drugs. The war on drugs isn't a war on drugs. The war on drugs made more drugs everywhere and made them profitable. I know. My stepdad lived out here as a hippie guy. Before that, he was in the Korean War, Vietnam War. His job officially was to go out and fight the North Koreans originally. Instead, they give him counterinsurgency training, which is basically teach you to infiltrate, run across borders, and move drugs. So they could go to Afghanistan, take the heroin. Wait a minute. Google says that this didn't happen yet, but it did. I grew up way before Google. I'm a 73 kid. I knew this stuff back in the 70s. The whole story. You can piece it together on the internet. I know kids guarding the same poppy fields. The same poppy fields. When the Taliban got in power, the first thing they did was burn those fields and go off the petrodollar. That's why we invaded them. It had nothing to do with freedom. It's because they burned the CIA's cash crop of heroin that they used to fuck up economies and make money off of. Same field, same place, same...
So all of these, you know, it's privatization. And that is what happened, and that's why we have all these wars. It's because it's all privatized. The privatized military, everything is privatized. Every city is a corporation. Every state is an independent corporation. And corporations are artificial, and somehow in the 1800s they were able to have Supreme Court cases that gave corporations human rights. So here's an artificial dead entity, a corp, dead, that has human rights by tricky lawyers getting it to the Supreme Court, but no responsibility. And you know what the duty of the shareholder, the duty of the corporation is? Profit for the shareholders. So you have something dead that lasts forever, that has no responsibility, that has to make a profit. It's, you know, I mean, we have all these insane things that people were so busy, you know, busy bees, trying to make a living or get ahead or make enough money when somebody controls the inflation. Inflation is a game. And, you know, like the stock market crash, I remember learning about the stock market and when I was like a little kid, and I'm going, well, if the stock market crashed, how come we have a stock market? Why don't they just get rid of it? And I've always thought like that. And
it's like, my illness is getting worse and my taking heart pills. And it's like, it's not fair. I don't want to get into housing and next thing you know, I end up dying. Because of this park is stressing me out. And it's like, I just woke up this morning, looked at my lip. Bottom of my lip is basically busted, and I'm still trying to figure out how to bust my lip. And I don't even remember getting busted my lip, so if somebody told me, they say, yeah, you got into a fight last night. There's like the dude hit you in your lip, and next thing you know, you had him in a hit like you just basically strangled him. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, well, that's part of having epileptic seizures. You don't remember things. People have to tell you what happened. And I keep telling people, when I get mad, I don't remember what happens. So it's not safe for me to be here. That's why I say I gotta get up out this part before something happens. And I'm trying to be safe for myself and everybody else because they will get set on fire. Really set on fire. Because I hate bullies. Stealing people's shit, hitting people inside the head and taking their backpacks and shit, that ain't cool. That's that theft. That is real theft. Motherfuckers don't realize they could go to jail, they didn't even know they was getting taped. There's a fucking cop was sitting next across the street watching the whole fucking shit. Lucky his ass to go to jail. So busy listening to my conversation. That's what you call real nosy. You don't get no peace, no quietness around here. Because people like that, be all up in your business. He's like the reason why all my shit came up missing. That he thinks that I don't know. People just hold on that man and said, yeah, he was all up in your tent. It's like he part of this stole my speaker, he stole my phones, he just stole everything I own. And he know. He already know.
Nations will go to wars against nations. And America is only, what, 250 years old? And why are we trying to act like the big bully on the playground when we're still in diapers? We're kindergartners going into fucking high school and trying to pick on the high school kids. We're gonna be wiped out. 2 to 4 more years. I was shown 2 years ago that America is gonna be destroyed. And it's not from the outer. A house divided by itself shall not stand. It's defeating the purpose of life, or of surviving. What it used to be, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, they used to take rocks and trade them for other things. Hey, I got this chicken, I'll trade you 2 chickens for your cow. Or I'll trade you this dozen of eggs for a gallon of milk. You know, that's the kind of life we should go back to. Everybody stop worrying about fucking paper.
People see me passed out on the floor twitching, and they immediately think I'm a junkie. That when somebody's going like this, they're withdrawing from drugs or something. I'm just having a seizure or whatever, you know, or my brain's shorting out, or the MS is swelling my brain stem up and eating it or something. I have been clean for decades now, except for one binge on the anniversary of my wife and kid and I separating a few Christmases ago, and then I got over it. You know, it's not like...
Okay, my name is Treah, Treah, and I'm going to legally change my name to Treah. My name is Treah, but I'm putting an H on the end because those letters, if you rearrange them, it spells Earth Heart. So it's the Earth Heart Institute. And everything that I do is about creating a care farm. And another name is the Coalition of Kindness. And discovering the means of creating the impossible. You know, and I'm older, I went to college, and you know, and it was hard. I was a single mom and was working really hard on the life that I worked hard to get, but my husband was unhappy in the marriage, so he pretty much was able to sort of like twist my teenage daughter into turning against me so that he could remove her and then not pay, you know. But he also quit paying rent on our ranch and left me in the street with 9 horses and no money in 1996. And I dovetailed into a friend who was a racehorse trainer, but he was also, it turns out, a Vietnam veteran with brain damage and PTSD. And I didn't know that he was even a veteran, much less that he had brain damage and PTSD, because that was, you know, 1996 is when I met him. And nobody ever heard of that back then. And but eventually, I mean, he was so nice to me during that traumatic experience, and then he started getting kind of pushy, and he didn't have an income, and eventually I told him to go F himself, so he beat me up and claimed to own all of my horses, and he had stolen the registration for my truck and horse trailer.
Like we all have, well, I don't. I got rid of my cell phone. I hardly have seizures anymore now after I got rid of my cell phone, and they tell me I'm a crackpot because I say that. My main course of study is high energy physics, frequencies of light, and what they do to the brain. I've been studying this stuff most of my life because of my issues. But yeah, I'm told I'm a nutcase because I don't use the phone. Forgot where I was going with that, but I did just have a seizure not long ago, and I'm kind of still loopy.
And it's like being experiencing being here, it was like basically a headache. People stealing my stuff, people stealing my speakers, my phones, my clothes, my shoes, everything. I lost all my cards, my credit cards, everything. I had to replace everything. Still can't replace my Caltrans card. Still have money on it. And somebody stole it and basically just, they cut it off, now they can't use it no more. And now I'm like kind of happy that I'm getting out of this park. Because all this park did was kill people I love, And it like basically like people that are lost like was close to me in this park just died, basically in this park. And I'm like, I can't be here no more.
And so I've been here for about 7 or 8 months, and this park is on UC Berkeley property. The university owns People's Park, so there's a whole history, which, you know, you probably know about the battle for People's Park and all that. But so apparently they are going to kick everybody off and build housing and then have a park. And from what I see, what's happened here, this is a crime scene. It's an insane asylum and a crime scene. And there, you know, the only thing you can do is leave. You don't have any protection here, and there's different people that control the park. And I'm not naming any names, but you've experienced, you know, the crimes or the power. But I was gonna, you know, I'm thinking about filing charges. And he goes, if you put her in jail, you will be killed. You will be killed by the people who fund her business. So apparently, you know, I'm not going to say anything because you know, all I do is watch how mean she is and how she orders people around, and she, you know, controls a lot of people here through money and other things.
A lot of the problems is the people would rather think about this. There's nobody harassing them. We got a couple main drug dealers that kick it in this park all day long, and they control it. If you're not getting your stuff from them to sell, then you can't sell anything. You'll be ran out or burned out. If you stand up against them, then you got everybody else that gets the drugs from the people to mess with you. And backwards of retaliation. So it's keep their mouth quiet, and a lot of these people don't have to pay rent, don't have to pay for food, don't have to pay for electricity, don't have to pay for nothing. It's all handed, and the cops ain't messing with them. They'll walk through, they'll ride their bikes through, but that's about it. They don't harass us because they know that the time is coming.
Park. And Cal's going to be able to do with this property what they need to do and make their money, and we're going to be able to do what we want to do because we're people. And we deserve a place to live, even if it's like this. I'm sorry you don't like it, but you don't have to. Don't come out here then. You know, when I really got disgusted with that, I left. There ain't nothing out there. There's love right here. There's love right there. And you know, what's a homeless person look like? Check it out. It looks like me. You know, it could be you. That's it. I love you guys.
Te voy a contar. Veníamos aquí para el tiempo de lluvia. Aquí, ahí está el pedazo del otro árbol. Por allá hay otro árbol. Aquí teníamos otro por acá. Todo esto estaba lloviendo y no te mojabas. Todo esto estaba verde, todo esto eran árboles. No te caía el agua. Estaba lloviendo y no te caía agua, era todo árboles. Cuando ellos vinieron a quitar eso, se siente el espíritu de soledad, de impotencia, de muerte, de crueldad. Eso fue lo que ellos dejaron. Porque ellos no vinieron a curar árboles, ellos vinieron a matar la vida. Eso fue lo que ellos hicieron. Y eso no se hace con la madre naturaleza, no. Y esa es otra. Anyways. Ahora si quieres nos vamos para allá.
Leanne. She died in April, I think. Okay, why? Women! Why did I start a concert out here? Why did I do the concert? Was to meet women. That's
Like you're a real one.
the big motivator for all of us. That's not gay. How's that? Now, the other motivator, why? Well, it was possible. I think I told you before, I was living down there above Bongo Burgers and looked up here, and I've been doing these damn rallies at Provo Park. Now it's called Concentration something Square, the main park downtown. I was doing rallies there, and they stopped me from doing it. So I looked out the window. I said, well, geez, I'll just do it right up here. Actually, where we're sitting. The first rally was right about here. How are you guys?
We're good, brother. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm, it's good to be out of the house. I've been stuck in the house for months because I've got cancer a little bit.
I thought it was remission.
Coming. Every 3 weeks, I get a shot in the arm at Kaiser. And it doesn't really make you feel anything, but then I had, there was a, what do they call it, some way of investigating this coming along, and the doctor was real positive that I'm gonna live. You know, it's coming along, it's working.
I'm happy to hear that, brother.
Pardon?
I'm happy to hear that.
Oh,
brother.
thank you, brother. Thank you.
I'm Douglas. I've seen
Douglas.
you around. What's your name, man?
Michael.
Michael, nice to meet you again.
And this guy behind you is Charles, too.
Yes, I've met Charles before. He's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Charles. He's dying, too.
I think we all are in some sense or another.
Yeah, but not, I mean, okay, I'm 84, so you
Good
sort of,
for you.
every day you get up, oh, another day. But then after a while, hell, I want to live to 104. And you start to hear the people that are doing that, so it's good to be alive. Good to be alive. There's always been a battle on the stage. I'm not for the stage. I'm not for hierarchy. And put you up there, everybody, oh, here, I'm the master or whatever. So it started out just a real, like maybe a couple of inches high, just a flat. But actually, it started up there, where we rented some stuff where we could set up a stage that was on the ground. That was the first rally, right up there on this side of the redwood tree. Workers rule. You know, we make everything. We're all but 2% of the nation. We should rule.
Take over. Nonviolent war of words.
Well, I don't know about nonviolent.
I'm very much so for nonviolent
So
advocacy.
this is where, in that particular area, I sort of disagree because you look at the history. We're here. We have all these privileges. They were done nonviolently. There were confrontations with the employer where they were violent, and that's, you know, you're not gonna. If they can bring out their violence, you can't bring out yours. Forget it. So you have to somehow or another, and we haven't figured that out, or we would rule, is neutralize overcome their violence. And you're not going to do it by convincing people to be nonviolent. You know, it's hard being a manual worker.
Okay, no, they're all of the lampposts.
So, I'll say a little about my background. I'm a Boilermaker, and Boilermakers are ones in the refinery. Right now, almost all our work is refinery work. We work in the what we call vessels. You would call them tanks. When you go by a refinery, you see all these tanks. We work inside them, Boilermakers, and it's quite a dangerous job. And what it's allowed me to do in the union, because I'm active. I started out in 1965 in the union, and every month at the union meeting I sort of learned to speak. This thing of not being able to read, and I learned in my union meeting how to speak. And it started out just a few sentences, and now I can give a good 5-minute rap at the union hall if I have to. So, working in the refinery and the vessels. What's going to take place is, as the time goes on, it might be 100 years, whatever, eventually we will overcome being wage slaves. That's what we're wage slaves, that's it. Slave to the dollar, slave to, and then in that process we'll decide how it should be. That's the important thing, how we should live, not being wage slaves. And even in socialism, you're going to have the way it is now, it'll be wage slave. So we have to decide how that won't take place. That we'll have a different type of society, so where we all have a piece of the action.
One of the important things he did was not that, was to make sure that the park was always the creation of the community, was despite people trying to push him as the leader, not accepting that role, because he realized that if he was the head, then all they had to do was take him out and would fall apart.
They would kill me.
So he would encourage, that's why I was interested when he talked about the different spots, because if you have different people holding down their different spots, then they're invested in it. And so I think Michael always took a back seat, like when no one else would do it, maybe he was forced to do something.
Yeah.
But really that's the secret to his power. It's his care for people.
It's
so
the success of the park.
It's someone who deeply cares about his community and is willing to say the truth, say the shortcomings. Yeah, I did it because it brought in the women, and because I knew if I brought in the women, that brought in the community. Because I was trying to do this other thing and that didn't work, so I tried something different. And so just his honesty and willingness to put others before himself. Like he didn't tell you, so Dusk, he's been raising Dusk. Dusk is his grandson. He's raised him basically as
31 years
his
here.
Entire life. For the last X amount of years, his adult
31
disabled daughter, he was taking care of her. So what you have is just a man for the community that doesn't seek the spotlight, but sometimes is forced into it.
Well, I'm thinking here, one of these days we get a mass of people together, and we're going to go up and change that fucking university.
I don't know if I met anyone that wants to.
You know, it won't operate unless they change it.
I think that's kind of...
Where the requirements more and more include people that are poor people. You know, eventually people like me will have more influence. Wanting to, rule. Will it be much more of a union movement? It used to be when I went to work, it was 1/3 was in a union. So they whittled that down to about 6 or 7, 8%, and now that's growing. And I don't see how the ruling class is going to stop that. So eventually, will be a majority or a big majority and take power. That's the way I see it. But it's a big thing, big project. I hope I'm around, but I don't think I will be around. It's a long project. I'm 84 now, and I wish you could live to 184. That's the problem in all this. We all fucking die at the end. And thinking of that, God, what, I was thinking, well, what does that mean? That means I won't know it, but it's just a blank. When the screen goes blank at the movie theater, well, it's that amplified. I mean, just blank. And so, it scares me. Nobody wants to go. Plus, in all this, I learned how to make a dress. Down there in Red Square, she taught me how to make a dress. Not a hard job, but I knew how to use the sewing machine. But I could make it what they call an A-frame dress. And so, a good skill, actually. The end.
The mycelium is alive. The stumps are alive. It's still going on. It's still happening. Just let me know. Good?
Yeah.
Yum, 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 yum. Just remember, money is not the rule. It's only the tool, kids. Whoop, whoop! People's Park in the day and in the dark. Loving you, motherfuckers and mother lovers in the house. Power to the people in the steeple. Whoop, whoop! People's Park lives on.